Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So, despite what some of my previous videos would have inclined, Thomas Wood was not cancelled, but it just got a strong revision between, 2018 and 2019. And even though that range has not yet appeared in Australia, and quite interestingly, at most stores that stock Thomas Wood, and unfortunately most of these are online stores because there really aren't many stores at all that stock it, it's still full price. Kmart went on a big price splurge and cut prices on Thomas Wood, but after that Kmart sold out. I have seen all the other toy stores still in Australia, both online and in real shops, have not changed their prices on Thomas Wood. They're selling it at the full retail price, the old one. So I don't really know if it's going to come to Australia. That's a really interesting question. But thankfully, Amazon to the rescue. I was, tossing up about whether I want to purchase these, especially because they're actually quite expensive, considering I already have the old one. And I've got the classic one, which we'll talk about in a second. But yes, I did pick this up as part of the Light Up Minis that I also purchased. Finally, they came down to a decent price. To get my free shipping, I picked up some Thomas Wood 2019. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the brand new 2019 Thomas Wood with full painted details. Or so we thought. Anyway, let's open up and see how awesome he actually is. Alright, so packaging, if you remember to my old videos, and if you can't remember, feel free to go and check them out, is exactly the same as it was on the old ones. You got the same, even little dumb writing, and as I said, all of the earlier ones I thought had really dumb writing. And these ones are the same ones, so they're dumb. You got the new picture here, which is the fully painted version of Thomas. And then you got old mate old Thomas in here in his packaging. That's pretty much all for the packaging. So let's crack him open and do some comparisons. I didn't mean to do an unboxing shot, but when I went to open it, this is what happened. The whole back piece just came off from the whole front piece. So what it looks like is that this is not printed on both sides. It's like two separate pieces that are printed like this, and they stick them together with glue, which I did not see on the old packaging, so that's super weird. This is normally what happens when you open them. This happens, which is what it should do if it's correctly stuck together. But this is just more weirdness from Mattel, who are, the queens and kings of weirdness at the moment. Alright, hurrah! He's out of the packaging. Let's and in all his glory, here he is! 2019 Thomas Wood, fully painted. We'll just do a quick 360 for the camera. Alright, amazing. So let's take a look. Face, the same. Front buffer detailing, the same. I appreciate it's still there though. Side detailing, the same. Top detailing, the same. Back detailing, or lack of thereof, the same. Bottom detailing, not quite the same. So, let's now do a proper hard-up comparison of these two engines. So, the first thing to note is yes, the mold is physically the same. They haven't changed anything about how he's physically built. It's the same thing. So, if you were sad about no domes, there's still no domes. What we do get, though, is an undercoat. And originally, I just thought, what they're going to do is just put, if Thomas is blue, they'll put blue underneath and then just print all this stuff on the top. But they have actually done a little bit more than that, which is nice to see. The first thing is obviously it's printed on all the surfaces, like it's even been painted underneath. So this is actually painted wood now, and then they print this stuff, however they do that weird printy thing with the stickers or stamps or whatever, over the top of the paint. Whereas previously this was not painted and then they kind of stick it on the blue parts on the side. What they have done, which is quite nice, so therefore you do get this nice painted feeling rather than that weird printed texture that I was talking about in my earlier videos. What's nice is they have actually printed in the black parts here, which would be behind here if this was flat. I'll get some, if we get some tender engines, I'm waiting to purchase some of them for some comparisons when they come down to more reasonable prices. That might look funny because, as you remember, I complained about them weirdly printing in the voids on the tender engines. It might look funny there. I think it looks okay on Thomas, but again, I probably could have gone without it, to be honest, and they could have just, painted the red circle-y bit. But I understand what they were going for, at least for the most part. The other thing they have done is they've printed in these with black. Previously, they were open, and you can see they've actually shrunk down his windows a little bit. which I think is quite interesting. They've shrunk down his windows and then painted them black. Same here, they've painted the grooves here black. They've painted the door sections black. Interestingly, because he's painted all blue, this black part actually has a line of blue underneath it before it goes onto the body, because that's the last thing they've done. They've actually painted the bottom blocks of these black as well. So you can see this was all left unpainted. This is now all painted black, and you can see what's really interesting is what it looks like they've done is they actually painted all blue and then they put black over the top, because you can see the Thomas and all these production codes are printed cut out of the wood, and you can still see a bit of blue there. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. It looks to me like that's way too... Why would you put so much effort to paint those tiny little bits in blue on the underside of an engine, which no one looks at? Like, Mattel wouldn't do that. That makes no sense. So I think they must paint this block part blue first and then go over it with black, which leaves this little outline. Interestingly, you can see that this Thomas is bolted, and from what I can understand, I think that's the new construction technique they're using for all Thomas wood now. So that revision halfway through, we're talking about these ones they don't have screws on the outside. This one has the screws on the outside. I think all Thomas wood engines are going to have that now. So, in short, same issues as the other one, but you just don't have the exposed wood. And importantly, this front profile looks far, far less weird than that front profile. And that was the big thing I said was the problem with this Thomas wood. From directly on the front, he looked super weird because it was like so brown. So brown. This one fixes that because now it's all blue, even if you still have those weird lines. So, now's the real comparison to the 2017 Thomas Wooden Railway Thomas. So again, now they're really quite similar if you look at it. This one is obviously a bit longer, which is what we already talked about. You know, it's a bit longer. He's a little bit taller as well. His face is a bit bigger. He doesn't have the dots in his eyes, which I actually think the dots look better. Some people disagree, but I think the dots look better on these toys. He does have the little plastic dome which sticks up versus this one, which now has that little filled in bit for the dome. Yeah, I mean, look, you are welcome to disagree, but I actually think the proportions on the new Thomas Wood 2019, fully painted, look better than this one. So you're welcome to prove me wrong, but I actually do think this Thomas is a bit too big. I like the smaller size of this one. I think this would be a good James size. But alas, that's not an option for Thomas Wood. Yeah, I actually really like this design now. I think with this extra paint, it looks really good. Don't get me wrong, I do like the non-painted wood aesthetic, and I will not be collecting the Thomas Wood 2019. I have no desire in collecting Thomas Wood 2019 now. I will get some for reviews, and if there's some new characters like Rebecca and Nia, I probably will pick them up. But I'm not going to be collecting them the same way I collect the other ones, just because I don't need to collect more of these things, you know? I collected these because they were weird, because they were interesting, because not many other people were reviewing them, but people seem to like these more. They'll probably review them and do better jobs than me. But interestingly, yeah, I actually quite like this design. If it had a little funnel, rather than just the nothing, I think this would be a really good Thomas, and I think now that they're fully painted, without a doubt, Thomas Wood is the best Thomas at the moment you can get. I don't like the Trackmaster still. I think Trackmaster looks weird. I think the New Adventures Push Along also looks weird. So I really think if you want to collect Thomas, the new Thomas Wood is probably the way to go, although it's way, way, way too expensive. How many dollars did I pay for this one? Too many. $17 Australian with free postage I paid for this, which is way more than I should. When these were selling in the stores, they were selling for about $15. When these were selling in the stores, they were selling for about $15. So this is overpriced because they're not released everywhere yet, and Amazon can be a bit cooked like that. But yeah, too expensive. But if it comes down to a more reasonable price, like, you know, $12 for about the amount that maybe just a little bit less than what these were selling for, then I think this is a pretty decent buy. It does look quite nice now. I do enjoy. I was skeptical of the new version, but they do really look quite nice. Yeah, that's a tale of two Thomases. What a weird, weird time it is to be a Thomas and Friends fan. Hey. Yep, so there you go. That's my thoughts on the Thomas Wood Thomas. I'd love to know what you think about this new change. I guess what it does show is that Mattel is listening to fans and is listening to parents and people who buy the toys, but they are listening to them in weird ways because There are so many other things that need to be changed about that line that weren't the paint. And that's what I always said. There were so many more things wrong with Thomas Wood than just them not being painted properly. But we'll see what happens. Alrighty guys, thanks for watching. This video has gone for way too long, as per always. So if you're still here, thank you, I appreciate it. Don't forget to do all those cool things to do on YouTube. And as always, that's all we've got time for. 6 Dream Trains.